All right, huge day. Donald Trump has made the mistake of releasing the transcript of his call with the Ukrainian president. Look, releasing it isn't the issue. He had to release it at some point, but it is damning. If we have any rule of law in this country at all, it's over. So I know that people say, "Oh no, you can't say that. Oh, Donald Trump always escapes from everything, and you don't know that." No, I'm going to explain what's in the transcript. I just read it. And then we'll give you direct quotes and more context in the live show tonight. You know, that's at 6 p.m. Eastern at tyt.com. If you miss Eastern, at tyt.com. If you miss any of our programming, you could always become a member and get all of it at tyt.com/join. Okay, now let me tell you what's in the transcript, okay? So there are three components to it. The first one is just the normal embarrassing stuff that isn't illegal, but it's interesting, and I'll share that with you real quick. Then there is there a quid pro quo, where he says, if you investigate my political rival, I'll give you American money, not my money, but taxpayer money. Everybody in the world acknowledges that if that's the case, he should be impeached. I think that exists in this transcript. We'll get to it. But then there's a third component, which is just asking for a foreign government to investigate your political opponent. That is already a crime. There doesn't have to be quid pro quo. That's the most important part. I'm going to get to that. If any other media figure is telling you otherwise, they're flat out wrong. They're either, look, there's phenomenon in the media where there's the Fox News guys, the conservative guys who will just lie on purpose, okay? Or they're so biased they can't see straight, they can't read the law right. And then some mainstream media guys will just do both sides of them. Well, on the one hand, some people say murder is a crime. Others say murder is not a crime, right? But every legal expert will tell you that you cannot ask a campaign finance. It's a campaign finance violation to ask a foreign government to investigate your political rival. It's an open and shut case. I've got a great example of that in a second as well. But let's go one at a time as quickly as we can. So first on the silly stuff. So it's so embarrassing because the Ukrainian president is obviously aware that our president is a child. So he speaks to him like a child. You read the transcript, it's not that long, it's just 5 pages. He's like, "Oh, of course, Mr. President. Oh, everything we have done is because of you. You are the greatest. Please give us what we need. I'm begging you. You are my great leader, and I take all my examples from you." Look, I know in diplomatic circles you're supposed to be exceedingly nice to one another, but this is different. It's so over the top. So really important context for that, because I don't blame the Ukrainian president. The poor guy's got to do what he's got to do for his country. Remember, the context is a week before the call, unexpectedly, Donald Trump pulled $400 million in aid to Ukraine from Ukraine. The Ukrainian president knows that. So he knows that Donald Trump's got $400 million he's taken hostage here. And he did it outside of normal circles. We can get back to that. So the Ukrainian president's like, "Please, Mr. Trump, you are great, Mr. Trump. Of course, sir. Please, sir. I take my lead from you, sir. What do you need investigated? Yes, sir." Right? So, okay, that's just Trump being a child and the guy trying to appease him, but partly because Trump's holding up the $400 million. Okay, now let's get to quid pro quo. So there's no question, and it's very clear, and this is why if there was any justice in this country, Trump is totally done. He says, "I want you to investigate Joe Biden and his son." Flat out says it. It's over. It's over, okay? So, tick, 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 tick. Okay, I'm going to get back to that at the end. But is there a quid pro quo where he threatens, well, if you don't, maybe you won't get the $400 million in American aid? Well, first of all, in the beginning of the call, he says, Trump says to the Ukrainian president, "Now, you know that America has been very, very good to you. But it hasn't been reciprocal. There are things going on there that I don't like. But remember, other countries not as good to you, but we are very, very good to you." Even when a mob boss does a shakedown, it's not like they go and say, well, maybe sometimes they do, but they know that their phones are tapped off, and so they talk in like very clear code. We should get rid of that problem, right? Well, if you'd like that to happen, maybe you could do this instead, right? So it's not, any normal prosecutor could put together this case very easily when the guy says, "We have been very, very good to you, but maybe you haven't been so good to us." Then he goes into, well, the reason you haven't been good to us is because you won't investigate Joe Biden, my political opponent. Okay, now he doesn't say my political opponent, but obviously that's the main guy that at the time that he's running against is number one in the polls, etc. Right? But he clearly says Joe Biden and his son. So, and then at the end of the call, so the Ukrainian president says, "Well, of course, sir. I mean, we'll do something about that, and I'm happy to talk to Rudy Giuliani and Attorney General Barr, which Donald Trump mentions." So he's basically, go talk to my hatchet man, Rudy Giuliani, about this political campaign that he's on. And the Ukrainian president's like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And then the Trump at the end comes back and says about their economy. He says, "I predict your economy will do better now." Okay, you can say, hey, that's a general statement if you want to delude yourself. Or given, this is so important, given that he just kept the $400 million, and then he does the call with the guy, and then he says, "I think your economy will do better now, I predict." This is so clear. It's so clear. But again, you don't even need that. You don't even need that. I'm just telling you, it is in fact quid pro quo. And so, and guys, on the $400 million that Trump held, the normal process is Congress appropriates the money, and then it goes to different departments in the executive branch. In this case, it was the State Department and the Pentagon, and they were supposed to apportion $250 and $150 million to Ukraine. They get a call from the Office of Management and Budget, which is led at the same time by Mick Mulvaney, who's the acting chief of staff for Donald Trump. Trump says he told Mulvaney, "Go stop the money." And so there's no dispute about that. Mulvaney, in an unprecedented act, goes to the State Department and Pentagon and says, "Hold the money." They're like, "Hold the money for what? What's going on?" He's like, "Interagency communication." They're like, what do you mean interagency communication? Congress says give the money. Mulvaney's like, "No, don't give the money." Trump says don't give the money. Then he makes the call with the Ukrainian president. Then he says, "Oh, I predict your economy will be good now that you have agreed," right? So now let's get to the actual heart of it, because asking for any foreign country, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, China, Iran, could you imagine if somebody were a presidential candidate were to go to Iran and go, "Well, if you could do an investigation of Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, maybe that turns out good for you." It doesn't matter. Just him simply asking for them to do an investigation is illegal. It's not 90% illegal. It's not 80% illegal. It's 100% illegal. So in this case, that is clearly what Trump did, and he admitted it. He put out the transcript. In the transcript, he says, investigate Joe Biden and prosecute Joe Biden and his son, okay? That is asking for a campaign finance contribution, in-kind contribution from a foreign government. Totally illegal. He just self-impeached. There's no question about it. So why did he do it? See, this is what people can't understand. This is what I've been emphasizing for 3 years, and why I've said from day one that he's not going to make it to the end of his term. The analysts can't believe that the president of the United States of America is so stupid. So they keep inventing ideas. They keep projecting their intelligence onto him. So they're like, oh, maybe he has a strategy, and if he releases the transcript and admits the crime, that'll get the Democrats to impeach him, and if he's impeached, he'll be more popular. No, he's just stupid. He thinks, you know why he released it? Two things. You know how I kept, number one, he's like, well, I didn't technically say that I would give you the $400 million. I'm not giving you the $400 million because you didn't investigate Biden, and I will give it to you if you do investigate Biden. Since I didn't say those sentences, I'm not guilty. That's so not true. Okay, that's not how it works. And secondly, the reason why he kept calling it a beautiful call, a perfect call, now that I read the transcript, I know why. Because the Ukrainian president kept kissing his ass. So in his mind, he thinks, what do you mean? That's a perfect call. No, you idiot. The fact that he's complimenting you has no legal standing or bearing. Who cares that he's complimenting you? That isn't the issue. But he reads the transcript. He's like, what do you mean? It's great. He says all these wonderful things about me. And I didn't say I'm holding the $400 million hostage. I didn't technically say it. I just asked him to investigate. You admitted a crime. Okay, look, guys, one last quick example. So friends of mine got assaulted by a bunch of guys back when we were growing up in New Jersey. They actually go to court because the guys got arrested. Okay, they're the ones that assaulted my friends. And so my friends are called up as a witness, and one of them says, hey, got punched in the face. And the idiot defendant kid gets up and goes, no, Your Honor, I didn't punch him in the face. I punched him in the stomach. And the judge says, well, thank you for making the case a lot easier. You just admitted to assault, guilty. Okay. under the law, whether you punch someone in the face or in the stomach is totally irrelevant. By the way, just like Trump, they had actually punched him in the face and he had a scar on his face. But that's irrelevant because it's assault either way, and you just admitted it. And in this case, you can't ask a foreign country for contributions to your campaign or to help you in your campaign or to investigate your political opponent. That's already a crime. You admitted it. It's over. The only question that remains is, do the Democrats are they a real political party? Do they have any kind of courage and competence? The only way that Trump doesn't get impeached is if Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic leadership out-bungle him. I mean, it's a bungle-off. There's no question. Donald Trump is a serial bungler, but so is Democratic leadership. But you would have to be historically incompetent not to impeach this president when he himself just released a transcript admitting his crime. So I've got to conclude with tick, 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 tick. He's not going to make it. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi kind of announced impeachment yesterday. She actually, we'll get more into this in the regular show. Again, if you miss any part of our programming, tyt.com/join. But Nancy Pelosi actually didn't ask for a vote to start an impeachment proceeding, so she's got it a little wrong. But basically, she did a press conference. She's on the hook now for starting impeachment. And on day one, Trump's already done. But wait till they go to day 2 and day 28. He's going to keep on admitting things that were wrong. We're going to keep on finding out disastrous things about Trump. If there's a real investigation of Trump, it is inconceivable he could last, and already proven right in the first day. Now, normally people will say, well, I take no joy in saying that the president is going to be impeached. Okay, you know I keep it real. I take great joy in it. Okay, the guy's been guilty all along. I told you he was too corrupt to stop and too stupid to cover it up. And so he's bad for the country, but most importantly, we must have rule of law. And he clearly violated the law. If you did it, you would definitely be in jail. And other people have gone to jail for that same exact violation. So we need to show we're a real democracy and a country of laws and hold the president accountable.